Canadian Lawn Bowling Championships. I'm Jake Shuknik, and I'm joined today by our president of Bowls Canada Bowling Grant, Mr. David Calum. How are you doing, David?
Oh, great. And a beautiful day it's turned out to be here this afternoon. Cold morning with a bit of wind, but enjoying just a beautiful blue sky and looking forward to some great bowls.
Our feature match here this afternoon is the men's triples of Manitoba versus Saskatchewan. And Saskatchewan has the green decals on their bowls, while Manitoba has the yellow colored decals, if you can see those. They are playing a rather short starting end here, so apologies if the camera doesn't quite pick up any short bowls. And that looks like a pretty good start there for Manitoba. John Bjornson's playing lead, and he's got all three of his red ones there in the count. And Murray Patuli's looking to see if he can counter that with his last one. We were just talking earlier about how the men's triples is quite the dog's breakfast, is what I was told. It's everybody in the pool is either 3 and 2 or 2 and 3. So this is a real crucial game for everyone. Anybody could still come out on top of this pool. Early predictions for this game?
Oh, I just predict. I know every one of these 6 players for a long time, and they're all good. It's going to be a good match.
It's interesting that Rob Law also has red bowls here. I think this entire team might be red bowls.
Yeah. And I know the other set of red bowls is those of Alex Scott, the skip.
Okay, all right.
The Saskatchewan team. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of red out there.
2/3 will be Manitoba, 1/3 will be Saskatchewan. So that could be a little bit confusing when it comes time to measure to see who's who. Robbie Law, fresh off his performance at the Canadian Under-25 Championships out in Nova Scotia. He did quite well. Lost out in the semi-final. I believe he got bronze in that, as he played in the bronze medal match. Grant Wilkie was also there, although unfortunately he didn't come away with any sort of podium performance. Robbie has a very unique delivery here now. It almost looks like he's sitting down there when he starts. As he chases this down, it's pretty close to where Bob was asking for it. This very well may be the youngest performance between the two teams here, as Alex, Grant, and Rob are all under 40 anyway. Great last shot there from Grant Wilkie. It looks like he's lying 1 off to the side. I'm kind of surprised to see Bob skipping here. I don't know if I've ever really watched this triples team, but I thought John Bjornson would be the skip.
Yeah, they're both very able. John is a remarkable singles player too, and good to have a very solid draw player for your lead.
Yeah, that's right. It really does make a difference when you have a competent lead, so you're not struggling in the head by the time you get to the mat. Alex Scott, currently a director on our board of directors. It's been a couple years since he was last at the majors. He's just wide and behind. I would have to think that Bob would be looking to push Grant's bowl through.
Yep.
And yet he's just wide.
Yep.
Alex definitely needs another bowl in the head here. If Grant's goes, then Manitoba's lying 3 or 4. Alex is chasing this down. Don't think he has the legs, though. Yeah, coming up a bit short. Bob's definitely got the legs to push it through.
But no, it's just wrecked it in the front of the head there.
This is the third time we've streamed a rink playing this direction here on A1, and that ditch side has been tricky for every team that's played it. And Alex isn't going to throw his last bowl, they're just going to take the one and run. So it'll make it 1-0 for the Saskatchewan crew. Murray Petulli setting the mat. He's also on the board of directors. He's the current treasurer. Is Murray a lefty?
Yes.
Yeah, southpaw?
Yes, along with John Petulli.
That's right.
They're both
that's right.
lefties.
And so Harriet and Mike are righties.
Yeah.
As you saw from Murray's bowl there, his weight was great, but it really does fight to come back in once you get out there on the ditch side. And I think John figured that out pretty quick. Said you don't need much grass. As always, if you want to get in touch with us, reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter, at BCB Bowls on Twitter and at BCB Official on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions for David, our president, then send us a tweet or send us a message on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. Depending on who you are, we might even start heckling you. Well, that's a pretty good bowl there from John. He's adjusted his weight. That's number one. I gotta say, I really do like these new shirts from Saskatchewan. They look sharp.
Yeah, I've got to get myself one of those, but there's only one way to do it. Maybe next year.
So you can't just buy them, you have to actually win them?
Well, yeah, they're restricted.
Okay. Okay.
You have to be a provincial champion to wear that shirt.
If you were to enter the outdoor singles this year, would that count?
You'd have to win.
Have to win? Okay, all right.
You have to be a Saskatchewan winner. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And I know some provinces, if you enter into an open event, then you can purchase the shirt. But obviously, Saskatchewan is one of the other provinces where you have to win. You can't just buy one to compete.
Well, then Grant.
Oh, beauty shot there from Grant. He's playing well here the first two ends.
Yes. He managed to find that narrow line and just trickled into a shot.
With those classic twos, I think is what he plays with, if I'm not mistaken, or are they just classics? I can't remember. I know it's one or the other.
I have a feeling the twos.
Classic twos? I do know they're a size 5. I've played against him using those bowls many, many times. He told me at the juniors when we were there that he actually won himself a set of aces, and he used those for 2 years but never won anything. And then as soon as he switched back to the classics, then he won, I think, 5 medals in 3 years or something like that. So the classics are his go-to. Pretty good bowl there.
Good, yeah, came nicely around the shot ball and into a good position.
Pretty strong follow-through there from Rob Law. He keeps his arm extended for quite some time.
Here's Robbie.
Oh, what a shot. Rob picked it to lie 1 for Manitoba. Does it feel different being here as a president instead of being the Saskatchewan manager or coach, I guess?
Yes, it's yeah, it is different. I really enjoy the interaction with the team, or even more so playing with the team. But, I'm enjoying being here, you know, as the president. It's good. So many people want to talk about things. To be available and to listen is that's my job this week. Meet a lot of extremely nice people.
Yeah, I've been quite happy with the people I've met here this week. There's been a lot of people that I email or phone call with and have never actually met face to face, so now that I can finally put a face to a name is pretty valuable, I think. Could be in the neighborhood. Fortuitous rub there to slow him down. So that could be 2 for Manitoba there. I see 2 Red Bulls that look pretty close. Just hanging out around. After it was halfway down, Al said that's gone. And he knew that it was hanging out and not coming back. Do you know off the top of your head how many majors you've competed in?
I believe it's 12 or 13.
Holy smokes. Quite a few.
Yeah. Probably 11. Actually,
11.
A couple of seniors as well
okay.
as the majors.
Right, right. Oh, that's a great shot there from Bob. That could be 3 for Manitoba in the head right now.
Yeah, if it's not a shot, it's certainly a problem for Alex here. See.
Yeah, I think he might need to play a little bit of a...
Well, it looks like he's got it inside the line this time nicely. He's getting up there.
Needs another yard and a half on that.
Yeah.
And of course, if you have any questions for our coach of the Youth and Development Squads, Daryl Fitzgerald, reach him on Twitter at Canadian Bowler. He's great for heckling.
I notice there's a little wind noise in the microphones. People at home may think there's a gale blowing, but it's just a pleasant breeze, but it's just catching the microphones, and there's a little wind noise there.
Yeah, it's really deceptive how much wind you can actually hear through the mics. When we were in Nova Scotia, it was super duper windy and gusty.
There's a better ball from Alex.
Oh, that's a great shot there from Al.
Just wrecked in on there.
Yeah, in Nova Scotia it was insanely windy, and you could only just make out the sound of it through the mics. But here it's a nice gentle breeze, and it sounds like it's a hurricane. So deceptive if you're listening. Having a little team powwow here about what to do with.
I think
with
he's
the
yeah, I think he's given his last ball to. Yeah, he's just chosen not to delivered.
So I think that was 3 from Manitoba. We'll see what the marker or flipper puts over. Yeah, that was 3.
Yes.
So 3-1 after 2. I'm happy to see that we actually got that second end completed. Yesterday when we were streaming the women's pairs between Alberta and New Brunswick, they killed the second end 2 or 3 times. Unintentionally, but took a little while to get that second end in.
I think that was a measure of the trickiness of this particular rink one here. They may have moved the centres somewhat, I don't know whether they have, but definitely any ball or the jack that starts moving to the left coming home, it's going to run out.
Yep.
And a difficult situation to contend with. But that game did settle down, and a pretty good game.
Yeah, after the
pretty much.
After the halfway mark, it turned into a really good game. Just took a little while for the New Brunswick women to figure things out. I have a feeling this is going to be a very tough game for the Leeds, as they are both very good draw bowlers and really going to be putting pressure on each other. You mentioned earlier that John Bjornsson is a very confident singles player. He has won, I think, both the outdoor and the indoor singles here in Canada, and not too long ago he competed at the Champion of Champions down in Australia. So he definitely knows how to draw. Murray's no slouch either, though. He's been on several winning teams here at the majors and also competing at the seniors this year too, I believe. That's a great shot there from John. That should be number 1, maybe. Maybe.
No, I think I just saw Alex take a look and signal that Saskatchewan is still just holding shot by short measure.
Yeah, so Murray's bowl is still line 1 there. Murray's coming up a bit inside.
Yes.
He's really struggling to find his line on that side. I wonder how long he'll battle it before he decides to switch hands, as the other hand tends to be a little more reliable if it's anything like yesterday or the day before. Rapi was really sailing through the head there. It's a good thing he found a friend. Might have been close to ditch weight. That's a great shot there from Grant.
That's definitely a shot there.
This is 3/4 of a previous gold medal force team for Saskatchewan. I remember a few years back in Willowdale, these 3 plus John Patulli took home the gold, leapfrogged their way up to the podium. Now we got a question here on Twitter for David. What do you like about being the BCB president?
Oh, that's a good question. I like to be involved. Just while we were watching, another ball came in there from Grant.
Yeah, great shot there from Grant.
Good shot. I'm involved in organisations, good people, and we certainly do have a lot of people. People are very passionate and care a lot about bulls. And that makes you feel so good. They're not always in full agreement, or even sometimes not in agreement at all with some of the direction. But generally people are gentle and polite and understand that whether it's on the board or whether it's in the club or in the province, people fundamentally are working for bowls. And I think we find a good attitude. So, and that's borne out here this week, meeting people. Yes, people want to hear things, but yes, they're polite, and others come with very helpful and constructive comments and thoughts.
That's one thing that I actually really like about meeting people face to face, is that their comments tend to turn from critical to constructive. I've seen so many posts on Facebook, Twitter, emails where it comes across as more of criticism, but when you actually talk to them face to face, it starts to turn into more of constructive, how can we fix things, how can we make things better together.
Yeah. That's very true. Very true. It's probably one of the challenges, and that Jake's talking about, and one of the regrets that, contrary to what a lot of people might think, Bowls Canada has very, very little choice in where we spend our money. There's commitments we have to make, and there's tasks we have to understand. And one of the expenditures that we've really cut back on is travel. In fact, during this week, it's interesting, we've got 7 of the current board here, and it's the first time I've met some of them.
Yeah.
Because we meet by conference call and by web-assisted meetings, and get to know each other quite well, but as Jake was saying, there's no substitute for face-to-face discussion.
That's right. That's right. That's actually a really interesting point, that this is the first time you've met some of the members of the board, because you've been working with them for probably close to a year now, if not maybe more so.
Yeah. But since 7 are here, we can tell that they're a very high proportion of competitive bowlers on the board, and some I have met, many I have met through various championships or competitions. This head has seemed to build up a little bit more in the favour of Saskatchewan now.
Yeah, it looks like it could be maybe 3. Could be 3 Saskatchewan, but there's a whole lot of red back there if
I think,
Bob ever chips the jacker and makes any sort of commotion that way.
Exactly right. I think
I know
a little defence here from when it comes to Alex's next ball.
I believe Alex's first bowl there, he tried to get a back bowl and
got one
back in there, which is a good placement, but really difficult for us to tell which one it is, since it's in a cluster of red. I think I can see it sort of back in the middle. It's slightly speckled.
And here comes a ball right into the. Well, wasn't that
right to Alex's bowl?
Great foresight for Alex. Jack came right back to.
Alex didn't even know it was his.
Yeah, he's. One thing I notice, and you'll notice about this team, is that there's a lot of laughter.
Yeah.
They know each other well, and they joke around, tease around, but when it comes to playing, it's serious. When the game is over, whatever the result, it's back to humour and companionship.
And I think that's dead, yeah. That one ball.
Chipped out.
One of the bigger stories that we haven't touched on too much prior to this morning is the fact that one of our board members is here with her husband and their 4-month-old. Team Alberta has a small little mascot here who's just about 4 months old. Jen and John McDonald are both here competing, and they brought Grandpa along to babysit, but that is some tremendous dedication to bowls to be still here competing after just having a child. And on top of that, that means they would have had to play in the provincial playdowns even earlier, so I don't know if that would have been 2 months ago or a month ago when Alberta has their playdowns, but that means the baby would have only been a couple months old at most, and they were off competing. So that is tremendous dedication to the sport.
And on top of that, Jennifer is, I believe, secretary.
Oh, is she?
In the, oh, certainly a board member with the new Calgary club.
Oh, okay.
And that must have taken and still take a lot of work to develop a brand new club in a suburb of Calgary. So yes.
Well, I remember when we were doing the competition review, I was shocked that she still came on a couple of the board meetings, because she had only just given birth earlier that week, I think. It was only a week later, and she's still on the call, which was blew me away.
Yeah.
Alberta has a bright future, if they're any indication of the passion that Albertans have for bowls.
Alex playing a careful but very nicely placed shot there.
Oh, what a beauty.
Well played.
What a beauty. That's 2 for Saskatchewan then to tie things up at 3. Three after 3. Team manager Keith Roney is huddling behind rink 1 here, as he can check out both Saskatchewan games on A1. That's the rink we're watching here, but right behind them, D1, is also women's triples. That has Saskatchewan competing as well. Is starting to pick up here a little bit. Here in sunny Victoria, British Columbia at the Wanda Fuquilon Bowling Club. Big thanks to Davey Matthey and Annie Matthey for organizing this event. They've got a tremendous crew of volunteers, but they've been working tirelessly for the past 6 months plus to make this event a go.
And both of them too played in the playdowns, and they're both competing in their teams today.
Yeah, that's right. They're both competing here this week, which is no easy task. As I know for a fact both of them have been flooded with questions between games. That's very difficult to do, to clear your head and play a game, and then as soon as you come off the rink, go back to solving problems and putting out small fires. John's opted to switch back to the more reliable hand, and it certainly shows. Great shot there. I've heard that John's nickname is the Viking.
That's right.
Bjorn.
He's always quick to point out that he's actually... Oh, very nice.
Very nice shot there from Murray.
Now Bjorn's actually... John is actually of, I believe, Icelandic heritage.
I did not know that.
Oh. I may not be absolutely certain, but I think I heard that sometime.
Every time I hear about Iceland in the news, I'm always loving what they're doing. One of these days I want to make a trip up there.
It's certainly a beautiful country. We went on a transatlantic repositioning cruise a couple of years ago, and it stopped in 3 different ports in Iceland, and we got to see quite a bit of the island and the people. And it's, it's I think everything you hear that's good about Iceland is true.
Well, that's good news. That's good news. This is a bit of a loose head here, starting to shape up. I noticed that yesterday too. Once you start to get back further on the screen, there are a few more brown patches, and it makes it really difficult to get your weight down, because as soon as you hit a bit of a brown patch, your bowl will just keep going.
Yeah, I think particularly at the end they're playing into now, the last 20 feet is just like, well, it's like playing on glass compared to the middle of the green, which has some green patches.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it's very tough to any slight overweight or slight extra width
Mm-hmm.
on the grass, and it takes off a life of its own. Right.
We're also happy to tell you that our past president, Ian Tizer, is here today as well. So if you have any questions for Ian, then you can swing on by the Juan de Fuca Lawn Bowling Club today. So he'll be here the rest of the afternoon, I believe. Ian is quite the fellow. He was on the board for, I don't know how many years, 6 years? Between board member, treasurer, president, he made quite the contribution to the Bowls Canada Board of Directors. He's also chair of the nominating committee, I believe, as the board is looking for a few new directors coming up here at the end of September. So if you are interested in running for the board of directors, head on over to the bowlscanada.com website and look under opportunities, get involved. You'll find a webpage there with job descriptions for being on the board. Take a read through, see if that's something you might be interested in. If it is, then get in touch with Ian Tizer. Alice having a real good look at this here, as I think there's only one Saskatchewan bowl near the jack. The next closest Saskatchewan bowl is probably 4 or 5 feet away. So you definitely want to be close, but you don't want to move too much. Al likes, once he's at the mat here now, he's liking the ditch side, which we'll see if he can figure out the line. He got inside a little bit.
Yeah, that really broke away at the end.
With that kind of weight, I'm wondering if he's trying to work on Murray's bowls up there and bring them into the head. If he would have had a little more grass, that might have worked. Bob is opting to go with the non-ditch side. He's looking to play a little bit of weight here. Just inside, but I think he's looking to grab the jack and bring it back to the back there, as there are quite a few Manitoba bowls waiting for it.
Well, jack or bowl, I think he gets a good result. If he could dislodge Murray's bowl, or, as you say, trail the jack back a little, would be. Alex has a through the.
Well, that's great weight there from Alex.
Yeah, through Murray's bowls. And,
it's another Saskatchewan bowl in the head. I think Bob's looking to do the same thing again here.
Yeah.
Rob's looking, he's saying hold up.
He's looking close now, yes. He's taking over, and again.
Yeah, got the weight back there.
I think Alex's bowl has been more than helpful to Manitoba, to Saskatchewan.
So Manitoba's lying 1, according to Grant. See if Alex can play almost an identical bowl. No, he's switching hands.
A nice pace. He's into the area, and he tails the jack out.
Just shifted over. That
He
might
may
be
have-
enough. Might be enough to give it.
Bring it in behind his own previous shot. Robbie's taking a good look at this one.
Take a look here. I think he favored himself still. We'll see if Bob can roll that Manitoba Bull over and just rest it and come in to make it maybe 1 or 2. Rob's looking at it intently.
Chin up, but
hoping for it to fall over, and that's probably shot itself.
And it looks from the signal there as if he might have made it.
Grant's still scoping, but 2 for Manitoba. Give them a 5-3 lead. As this is another triples game, it's another 16-end game. Unfortunately, we can't give you many other score updates on this deck, as we're sitting pretty parallel to the other scoreboards, so we can't really see much else. I can give you a few scores on the D deck, which looks to be a lot of women's 4s. On rink 2 is 8-1 Alberta over Ontario. Sorry, that's women's triples. On rink 3, that's also women's triples. It's 8-4. That's a all Nova Scotian affair. I can't tell if that's A or B. I think it's A that's up 8-4. Yeah, there's people in front of all the other scoreboards, so I can't tell you much else. Looks like these two leads are struggling to find their line and weight here, as both opening bowls were pretty loose.
Yeah, I think we might be seeing the effect here of the it's definitely warmed up a lot with a lot of bright sun compared to this morning, and the wind has dried out the greens, and I think the difference in pace across the green and across the brown patches makes challenge for the judgment of the leads. So here's Murray's ball. Seems to have
That's a pretty good bowl there.
Yes.
That's number 1.
Worked that out. But, it's always a challenge. Uneven pace in the greens.
John is just through. That's a almost identical bowl to what he just threw. Murray added quite a bit of weight there and just pushed his second bowl through and replaced it.
Yeah.
Line 2. Bob liked it, but I still think it's 1 Saskatchewan. And Grant is well through their head there. Pretty good line, though. Rob looks to be a little spicy here too.
Yeah, strong.
Wondering if that might have been what Bob was asking for. I'm not sure. Grant chased that bull halfway down before sauntering back, saying, "No, I'm not going to follow that all the way." Pretty good weight. Robbie's chasing this one all the way down, but I don't think it's going to be there. Left a little too early. Grant is on the development squad, and I know he's been making full use of Daryl the past couple events, as Daryl's the coach of the youth and development squad. So while we were at the juniors, and even here this week, I've seen Grant and Daryl having a little chat now and then, just to go over a few things, get some advice, talk things through, which is great to see that he's making use of that resource that's here. See if Bob's here. I don't think he is. That's probably a couple yards short. Big thanks to our sponsors and partners, the Government of Canada through Sport Canada, the Coaching Association of Canada, Kukri, our official clothing supplier, and lawnbowlingmanager.com. Do you know what lawnbowlingmanager.com is?
No, but I'm sure you'll tell me, Jake.
It's a club management tool that was created by a woman named Bona Lee. She originally made it for curling clubs, and it's called curlingmanager.com, but one of the curlers said, this would be really useful for my lawn bowling club. Can you make a product for that? And so she made a few adjustments and modifications, and now it's available for lawn bowling clubs as well, and it's a fantastic tool. It serves as a website, but behind that there's also the database function, so it can keep track of all your members, their personal details, whether they've paid their membership or not. You can include their emails and make a club email list if you have a newsletter. It also serves as league night or tournament standings, so you can have a page specifically. Oh, great shot there from Bob. So you can have a page specifically for your league nights and update the standings and scores of each game. And the greatest part is that you can give different access to different people. So if you have someone in your club who looks after competitions, you can have them only be able to access the competition pages so they can update the standings and scores and whatnot. And if you have a club member who looks after just all the members in your club, whether they've paid their dues or whatnot, then they can have access to the database that keeps track of all the dues paid. And if you want, you can just have your president look after everything, but you can assign different pages to different people, which I think is incredibly useful, because you don't want to tire someone out as a volunteer for doing it all. So you can break it up into bite-sized pieces, which is really nice. So if that sounds like something your club could use, head over to lawnbowlingmanager.com. Oh, there's a bullet from Alex. He has such a big backswing when he winds up.
Yes. So that's Lawn Bowling Manager. I've got to confess, I did actually know what the name was, but I didn't know that much detail that Jake has just given us.
When she approached me about putting an ad on our website, she gave me a 2-hour demo of it, and so I got to see some of the neat stuff that goes on in the back end of it. And it's actually really simple to use, so you don't need to be a computer techie to figure it out. If you can point and click and use your keyboard, then you're off to the races. A lot of it is already pre-configured, so you just have to input whatever data you want and you're good to go. Looks like Daryl's having a little bit of fun here on Twitter. What would be an ideal first bowl for a lead? He's got a GIF saying that's an excellent question. What is your most ideal bowl for a lead?
I think the standard coaching response is anything within a couple of feet is a good bowl. Nobody should be stressing, but I think 6 inches in front or 6 inches behind is the ideal ball. 6 inches in front because it can really dishearten the opposition. 6 inches behind it's very hard to do anything with it. I don't think anyone can overstress the importance of lead bowls in any game, but particularly in fours. If the lead, or even to that matter, the front end, can leave the head with one in shot scoring position and one in receiving position, that's the foundation for a good end.
Got a response on Twitter already saying from Bulls TM, a front toucher would be his most ideal, his or hers. I'm not sure if Bulls TM is Bulls Tim Mason or Bulls someone else, but whoever Bulls TM is, they're saying front toucher. We have some local media here behind us asking if they can use our scaffolding to get some camera coverage, and as we're using them right now, I'm not entirely sure what the verdict is as that's going on behind me. I think he's actually asking if they can move the scaffolding and get it right behind the rinks, which I don't think that's going to be happening, as that could be incredibly distracting to the players who are playing to have scaffolding moving behind them while they're bowling.
A little bit of motion on the count.
Yeah, they're climbing up onto the scaffolding behind us there, so that'll be a little shaky for a little bit. As we've been babbling here, John Bjornsson has been trying to put his bowls close to the jack.
He's been at work there. He's a little loose, but he is closest. Murray puts in a much better ball.
Yeah, that's a great response there from Murray.
Great reply.
Robbie Law is trying to master this ditch hand side. See if he can come in and get shot.
Well, I think he has. Oh, no.
Found the port, just missed the jack on his way through. Grant's just not quite there. Needed another 2 feet on that. Gotta say, I am impressed with Robbie's follow-through. He really holds that for a long time.
Just touches the Saskatchewan balls, but I don't think anything moved.
No, I don't think so. Big thanks to George Cubis and the umpiring that's been going on here. George and the guys and gals who've been officiating this week have been doing a fantastic job so far. It's no easy task to be out here all week, so big thanks to them. I've seen actually quite a few measures between, whether it's a jack measure or a bull measure. I've seen quite a few calls happening this week, so they've been rather busy from the looks of things. Grant is walking down after this bull. Is he around it?
He's
pushed
raised Murray's bull.
Brought Murray into the head,
right
yeah.
Up there.
Looks like 2 Saskatchewan right now. 2 and a look.
Yeah.
I can tell from looking at Bob the way he holds his bull here, he really uses just the fingertips when he holds the bull. That's very far from his actual palm. Got the bull, got the jack, and he is lying 1. Mr. Van Wellingham.
Excellent ball there.
First had the pleasure of meeting him 2 years ago in Winnipeg when I was there for the singles, and I'll be heading back there in a few weeks again to broadcast that event too. So we've still got streaming the rest of this week, Thursday, Friday, and medal rounds on Saturday, and then a couple week hiatus before we're back again for the outdoor singles. It's been a pretty busy summer. I don't think Alex liked that. He was looking down as soon as I came out of his hand. Weight wasn't too bad, just the width. You can see Robbie Law has given Bob a foot there for where he wants the bull to end up. Draw to my foot. Not quite. I don't know if you heard that, but Al Scott said this is the hardest draw of all time in this wind.
Just holding out there.
Yeah. Crashed on a short Manitoban bull. And Bob is quick on the mat to try to improve the situation. Rob is looking, he's asking it to hold.
Little weighty there.
Little aggressive. I don't think that's what he was aiming for. Might have been looking to get his last bull square to push it back and stay as a guard, but got the inside rub of it, unfortunately. Now here's where it's gonna be tough here for Alex, as you can tell from what he said earlier, that, you know, hardest shot of all time in this wind. It's tough to overcome that mentally and then just, you know, forget about the weather, not let that phase you. Almost got inside there.
Yeah.
Quick to kick him in though.
Yeah, one there.
Was that just one Manitoba?
I think it was just...
See what the flipper does. Yeah, just the one.
Yes,
You're correct.
just one.
Makes it 7-3 after 6. Looking at the rink next door there, between Alberta and Ontario and men's triples, Keith Johnson just played a beauty bowl 6 inches behind the jack. Keith, of course, is the fella who looks after the scoring app on our site. In case you're curious how we get such speedy, accurate scores up on our website, it's because we have a special scoring app that Keith developed, and now everywhere we go to a national championship, someone is a chief scorer who inputs them onto the app and uploads it onto the site, and it's incredibly quick and efficient. And really easy to use, too. Looks like John found his line relatively quickly here, but just struggling with his weight. You can see those two red bowls are coming back pretty close to the center line.
Yeah, notice that on this end as well, on previous end, that coming back away from the starting end, the first few bowls seem to come long.
Mm-hmm.
This looks more like
Yeah, it's a better length. Just a couple feet through.
So I'm going to follow this guy again. It's okay.
Okay, yeah, I can hop in.
So they can get some.
Yep, no, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, whatever we can do.
Murray is awfully close here.
yes, I think
That
it's certainly the right weight.
Definitely the right
Just
weight.
a little wide.
Tough to tell if that's shot or not. Bob's taking a look. Says he's holding one. And of course, if you are in the area, come on down to the Juan de Fuca Lawn Bowling Club. We'd love to have you here. You can see from this camera angle there are quite a few chairs of people watching there along the sides. It's a beautiful day. You can watch some excellent bowling, as this is our majors, as it's called nicely. Some of the best bowlers in Canada are here, putting on quite the show. While you're here, you can also check out the booth. Anna and Sarah are selling Bowls Canada gear, so you can get some sweaters, jackets, t-shirts, hats, visors. Swing on down and check it out. All made by our official clothing supplier, Kukri, who is actually the official clothing supplier for Commonwealth Games Canada. So when any Canadian team is heading to the Commonwealth Games, they'll be outfitted in Kukri gear. So that's any sport, not just bowls. Oh, that's a great shot there from Robbie. Numero uno. I'm going to poke a little bit of fun here at Daryl, but how many different ways have you seen your last name spelled?
Mine?
Yeah.
Oh, dozens.
Dozens? Yeah, I've probably seen mine spelled at least a dozen different ways too. It takes a while to figure out. Earlier this week, when we were going to the banquet, as they check you off at the door, they ask for your name, and the ladies had a very difficult time trying to find Daryl on the sheet because they thought it was Gerald Fitzgerald. I think that's a fantastic name. Might start calling him Gerald. No, it's been a huge bonus having Daryl at the juniors with me and here this week as well, as setting up the streams and figuring out how to get the equipment working has been anything but easy, as there's almost always a small glitch here or something's not working there, and Daryl's been a huge help getting everything up and running, so big hats off to Daryl to help me out with all that stuff. Going to be sorely missed at the singles, as he's not actually going to be out there with me. Finally get a little bit of a vacation. Have you had much time to watch the bowling that's been going on this week? I know that a lot of people have been stopping to talk and chat, and
But I've seen. Just
that's a nice clean
Bob
draw there
just
from Bob.
drag the jack out on his.
Went from 1 to 1 still, I think.
I think it
He might have a couple there.
could have that red ball to the front. But, so yes, as you asked, kind of being able to walk around and see some games. Not particularly to stop and concentrate on any one game. But, it's good to see. Commenting earlier, the race, if you like, or after 5 games in the men's triples. Have every team on 3 or 2 wins. It says something about the intensity of the competition. And, there's no other division exactly as tight as that, but there are several where there's 4 or 5 teams bunched in first and second place. So,
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen anything quite like this, where 5 teams are 3 and 2 and 5 teams are 2 and 3. Where this is still very easily anybody's race to the finish.
the end of today will tell a slightly different story, obviously, but I think, as you say, tomorrow is the day when patterns become clear and
I'm pretty sure that's not exactly what Bob was aiming for, as he just knocked his ball off the jack.
he's still probably laying a nice number, but
Yeah, still laying, probably.
opened things a little for Alex, who's coming in now, but a little short.
Coming up well short there, yep. Robbie saying, alright, slow things down here now, just a nice easy draw.
Little fact pacey, but
No,
just
that's-
came to rest rather quicker than I expected.
Came across a lot more than I thought. Al has a little bit of pace on this, and he says forget it and turns around and walks away.
That's, the tape will come out here.
Do you prefer a string measure or a metal measure?
I have a metal.
Metal one?
I like it. It's
That'll be 3 Manitoba.
3 or maybe
4.
4, I think. Yeah, 4. There's that wind again.
Yeah, it's comes in spurts here. I can see a helicopter there flying up over there. I wonder if that's significant. Seven ends down.
So I was wondering, Jake, did we get any more responses to Daryl's question and TM's reply?
I can't say I see any. So if you're on Twitter, let us know what would be an ideal first bowl for a lead. Love to make this a little more interactive. If you can send us a tweet at BCB Bowls on Twitter.
Yeah. I think we had the answer, front toucher, which certainly is a very challenging situation for a lead to deal with. A second question that could go with it is, so what do you do when you're confronted with a front toucher? What's the
yeah, that's the next point of action. If you're a lead, I would still probably try to build the head. Maybe see if you can get a few inches behind the jack, or anywhere near is really just to try to build that head up a little bit. Even a close second shot in any direction, I think, would be a pretty good bowl.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think definitely the temptation is to try and solve the problem with your next bowl, but the best solution is to get close, build up, and give your last bowls a chance to deal with the situation. But that's my opinion. If you have a different one, I'm sure some people do, let us know.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. These are just our opinions here, so if you disagree or want to say something different, let us know. Give us a tweet, send us a message.
I think Saskatchewan are dealing with that very situation there, where they've got it's actually I think it's a back toucher, and now they have a ball hiding the jack from the front. A difficult situation for any lead.
Not quite a toucher, but yeah, John Bjornsson has really put 3 very tightly placed bowls there into the head, so Manitoba is lying 3. That makes life so much easier for your vice when your lead is placed 3 all around the jack like that. You're not under pressure to have to make a shot or make things different for your skip. I'm sure Rob wishes he could have that back, though. That's coming up well short. Grant is just wicking in there for
and
one.
He gets the shot.
Gets a nice redirection there. Alex is going to go and spray that. And see what Bob says. Bob wants Robbie to play here on the ditch side. See if he can make some contact on jack or bowl. That's going to be very tricky to do, as that hand doesn't come back a whole lot.
Or maybe just get something in a close position, a little behind, would be a good start to rebuilding the head. And he does get a position bowl, but it's a little behind.
Yeah, he did get a position bowl in there. Alex is calling for almost the same, well, not the same shot, but ideally end up in the similar position there.
I think
in the neighborhood.
And he does. He touches it over.
Just touched his over a little bit. Now that's going to be really tough for Manitoba to get out. Starting to give some options here for Saskatchewan, but it's also difficult because you don't want to leave a wing bowl or anything like that if you're drawing into the head. Robbie's crashing on a short bowl.
Yeah.
Alex is saying do the exact same thing, same shot. I don't think Grant did it.
I think that Grant was just a little too quick to make the shot, a little too quick off the mat. As a result, I think he took it a little wider, a little heavier than he intended. He's probably realizing that now.
Bob's waiting for the wind to die down a little bit just so he can gather his bearings, but that's not going to happen. This wind is pretty steady. wide. And Alex is coming up a little bit short there too.
I have a feeling it's beginning to close that port.
Mm-hmm.
To the,
Starting to get clustered up
the
there.
forehand to the jacks, I think is how to. Yes, Bob's turned it over and he's looking to come on the tight side.
Looks like he's playing a little bit of weight here. That
Yeah.
definitely did not look short.
Definitely sent in the right direction. Didn't go by much.
Yeah, not by much. That looked like it was flying out of his hand, but I guess he didn't really throw it that hard at all. Alex and Grant have different deliveries, but they have very similar follow-throughs. If you take a look at them the next time they throw their bowls, their arm sort of comes across their body and their thumb sort of rests on their middle finger and their index finger points a little bit. It's a very similar follow-through. I think Bob took some weight off here and just around.
Certainly in the vicinity.
Alex is going to take a walk down here and see is it worth risking me try to bring in another one? Is there any danger? It's interesting that it's just Grant up there talking to him and Murray isn't up in the mix as well. A lot of teams make team decisions where they bring the lead and the vice in together, but for this team, I guess Alex and Grant discuss things while Murray just sort of stands off to the side.
So I think that's the difference when I see Murray playing with the two boys, John and Michael. It's definitely a collaborative at all, but here I think what you're seeing is Grant and let's see this ball go.
Just came up inside.
Yeah, looks like one.
What's Saskatchewan?
Yeah, as I was saying, Grant and Murray are really, although they've been part of multiples teams, they both out of the Nutana club, and they both essentially grew up one after the other in the junior program. So they really act like a pairs team. But having said that, if you could see down the green, you'd see that in fact the three Saskatchewan players are in fact having a team assessment.
Yeah, having a team powwow.
Probably going to weigh the options. Got the jack back. How do we make the best use of this?
I wouldn't be surprised if they're discussing right now just mat placement.
Yeah. How do we? So conclusions made. We'll see. Yeah, Murray's coming up a little. Trying to find maybe some different lines, different weights. See what this brings. The score is what now is 11-4.
11-4 for Manitoba, yeah.
That's an extremely important point strategically, and halfway through the game.
That's right, we are halfway
It's a
done.
very good place to do just what the team did, have a team discussion, collect the thoughts, collect yourselves, and commit to a plan.
Got a nice little discussion here going on Twitter. Daryl asked, when you're struggling for weight and or line, how do you refocus to get your game back in line? Hashtag tough green. And Bulls TM said, if I'm constantly short, I've seen me playing ditch length just to get the tension out of my arm, and it does actually work. The camera a little bit over that way, we can't see the ditch. So what do you do, David, if you're struggling for weight or line? How do you refocus to...
I think it's very hard to resist the temptation to think it's very complicated or it's somebody else's fault. It's not the green, it's not the wind, it's not the rain, it's not the opposition, it's me. And so what am I doing that makes me not as good a bowler as I really know I am? And so it's back to the basics. Am I stance good, release good, delivery good? Just check the small details and refocus.
I've got a question from Roger Smith is sending me a message on Facebook here saying, ask this question, who's the most important player on a Force team? That's a tough one. It's a team game, so I don't know if I could really pick just one. I would say that the lead tends to win the game, and this determines by how much is one of my favorite sayings, but
I'm traditionally been a front end player, and I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I might go with a lead on that as the most important player in a Forest team.
Or the second, the front end. I think it's.
So you're saying front end, lead or second?
I think maybe not the most important, but if your front end works together and can leave a strong position or a strong situation for the back end, the game's half won. Whereas if the vice comes down in a stressful, difficult situation, there's not many balls left to fix it. The chances of scoring are reduced.
Grant and Alex having a little bit of fun there. Grant just shut it down. Hey Alex, where's the jack? The closest bowl is 4 or 5 feet away. And clearly that worked for Alex to just put his foot near the jack, said it's right there, and Grant got a toucher out of it. Yep. Having a little bit of fun, these two.
I think the other half to that question of Darryl's, things are going badly, and what do you do? I think relax is a good word, and but understand there's a difference between being relaxed and being sloppy.
Yeah, there is a difference between being relaxed and being sloppy, that's right.
One works, one doesn't.
Roger Smith is answering his own question, who the most important player is in a Forest team, and he says the answer is the player on the mat.
Well, that's,
well, you're not wrong on that, I guess. Hard to argue with that.
No.
See if Robbie can get something closer here, as it's just a little off the 2 meter mark. Looks like he's sailing to me. Just through. Sticking around though.
Just there.
So I think it might be 1 Saskatchewan right now, but it's really tough to tell. That red ball on the side could be closer. It's very close.
No, I think you're right. I think it's the jack's just a little to the left of the green ball, or the green sticker ball. And, I think that's the shot.
definitely crucial for Alex to get another bull in the head here, though, because
It's surrounded.
Bob could pick that bull for 3.
And here comes Al, and he's very close.
And he's very close here. That's a great shot from Al.
I think he
Might have kissed it on his way through. I'm not
kissed it,
sure.
but yeah, the boys are looking at it.
Yeah, Grant's asking Murray for chalk, so I guess the lead carries the chalk on that team, I suppose.
Just a very slight touch. I don't think it even moved the jack.
No, just kissed it. But that's crucial, though, because that means even if they drive that ball in the ditch, it's still alive.
Still, yeah.
See what Bob will do here, if he tries to push those 2 bulls back a little, or if he's just looking to draw.
Well, got a little pace here. He might well be trying to split the Saskatchewan bulls off, and just follows Robbie.
inside.
Just came up. I was surprised he was room to come underneath the jack there. And Rob did it. No, Bob did it.
Alex is coming up well short on that. I wonder if that was just to try to get into Bob's eye.
Yeah, I think it drove a little bit more than Alex anticipated. Certainly not in the line.
I think Bob took a little more grass, but not enough.
No, it's the same result. And goes out.
Alice quick on the mat.
He's played good, a little more pace this time. In fact, he's got these 2 the jack, and he draws in behind for another.
I don't know if it's possible to get a bull stop there, as all of them just seem to keep going into that little pocket.
I think
Robbie's using his fingers here to take a look. I think it's at least 1 Saskatchewan there now. Might be 2.
although those with some pretty good draws, I think he has actually presented Bob with an opportunity here. But Bob can just spin out a tiny bit. Yeah. He has found it, yes.
Has he just?
Oh, yes.
Just. So that's one for Bob.
Yeah, very good critical adjustment to that moment.
Just made it on his last bowl. Nine ends done, and it's 12-4 for Manitoba over Saskatchewan right now. Got a comment here from John Tupper answering that question earlier. As lead, we give the skip what he asks, but I prefer a bowl within 2 feet of the jack on the delivery side, which the opponent prefers. So I guess that was in reference to where you want your first bowl. He's saying within 2 feet of the jack on the delivery side that your opponent prefers. So I guess that's an attempt to force your opponent to switch hands or get in their eye. That's an interesting answer.
Yeah.
Glad to have a little bit of a discussion going on Twitter and Facebook here. It's been relatively quiet for most of the week, so I'm glad to have a little bit of comments and feedback going on. So It looks like John has really figured things out here on the screen. He is just peppering the jack right now. And Murray's just kicked the jack off to the side on his way through. Draws around. He might be shot. Bob's taking a look. Just telling John to keep drawing. Just keep trucking. I will say that the volunteers here have been very Johnny on the spot for replacing water. There's a water cooler at each deck, I think at each end, and they are very quick to replace them and refill them with water and ice to keep the players hydrated. Rob is often to play with his forehand, the slightly more reliable side. He's definitely out there. I don't know if that's going to come back in time.
Just, I think, a little heavy. I think it was coming back, but it's just a little behind.
Just a little too spicy.
But not a bad position. Grant coming past through, get it touched hand.
Just found the port.
Yeah,
I think Rob's coming up narrow and short on there. That's a mulligan. Grant's working on Murray there, just got him square right into the head for one.
Yeah, it's a good job he hit something there, I think.
Yeah, he definitely had
a back ball.
Yeah, he had a lot of weight on that.
I'm sure he intended to do that. When we talked to him afterwards, he'll confirm that was the case.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll confirm and say that was the intent all along. Robbie's got a back ball in there. Al just said same idea, just play into the head. He's asking it to hold. Found that port again. That is something else. That's not a very big hole to be finding. And he found it twice. I mentioned earlier, big thanks to the volunteers, but also I want to give a special shout out to William Whitelaw. He's playing on Davey Matthews' team, but he's been our truck driver here this week. He's been moving the scissor lifts for us after each rink, so that way we line up with the direction of play. So after each round, we have to move it back and forth to get them to line up, and he does a great job of driving those around the rink without hitting anybody or tipping it sideways or anything. Not quite sure what Bob was aiming for there.
Coming with a bit of strength.
A little bit of strength, looking to
He was
grab
hoping to push something of his own up, or
the jack or bull on his way through, maybe.
yeah.
It's funny how prior to that bull, all 5 players were in the head, just blocking the view, so we couldn't see anything. But now that Bob's thrown his bull, they've all cleared except for Grant, and we can see everything again. Funny how that works. Bob's checking that one bull. It seems to be on the line, and Alex is gonna take a peek too and say, "Yeah, okay." Alex is taking a look at a couple other bulls here now on the other side. Saying the one red bull is out. Yep. I wouldn't be surprised with it. It's close. It's close. They might call an umpire to measure it, but the end's not done yet. I think that might be affecting both rinks of play here, as the rink next door, that might be in their draw line maybe. Rink next door is Ontario versus Alberta men's triples, and they're walking down to take a look. And I think Alex is talking to Keith here about what do you think should we, what do we do?
Yeah, there's definitely a small discussion going on amongst the Alberta and Ontario players on rink 2.
Yeah, and Al and Bob are calling an umpire to see if that bull is inbounds or out of bounds.
Yeah. I think Alex is, if that is in his line of sight as well to where this small meeting is going on, he's wise to let it clear up and disperse before it, so in case it might interfere with his judgment when he comes. I think he is looking to roll the back ball to the right side of the jack. And,
you can see the bull in question here is sort of just behind the jack, but to the far left. Just way up there. It's not really near the head at all by any means, but if you're looking to get a back ball in that hand, then yeah, that might be in your line.
Yeah, because Saskatchewan is vulnerable if Manitoba can get any jack action, pushing the jack back to the right. There's not a shade of green anywhere in there.
The umpire there just had a nice long discussion on rink 2. I'm wondering if it had to do with picking a ball up and putting it back down.
I suspect it was.
Daryl just took a quick picture on... Sorry, Rob's chasing his scorecard there. That was fluttering around the green. That was a little entertaining to watch. Sorry, Daryl took a picture on Twitter there saying gear showing up around the greens, and he's got a picture of someone rocking one of our new sweaters there. You can just make it out on the bottom of the screen. It's a, I don't know, aqua color blue, a very light color blue.
Very pleasant blue hoodie.
Or a bunny hug, as
Bunny
they call
hug,
it in Saskatchewan, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a bunny hug. Still a delay. I think the umpire might be gone to get some sighting equipment.
Gone to get some equipment here, I suppose.
Yeah, here I can see 2 approaching now. Looks like they're going to roll a long string or tape.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're going to use. There are multiple different options here. You can sometimes use a mirror, a string, laser level type thing, or I'm not really sure. I'm not an umpire. Looks like they're going with the string.
Yeah, they're using the string. Which is, some call it the old-fashioned way, but it's very reliable.
I think they might have a problem with their string. It doesn't want to come out. Helen LaRue is having a real good battle with it. It's stuck.
I think they've...
Yeah, it's stuck. It's not coming out.
That's the word I used, was reliable. And can we rewind the tape and edit that out? No, it's a live stream.
Well, that's the commentator's curse is what I'm going to call it, because all throughout this week and a couple weeks ago when Daryl and I were at the juniors, as soon as we said something, the players would go and prove us wrong. So if we said, this player's been playing incredibly well, they've drawn the jack every time, then they'd come 20 feet short. Or if we'd say they've been very short, coming this way on their first bowl all the time, then sure enough, as soon as we say it, they're 20 feet through the head. So no matter what Daryl and I have been saying as commentators, guaranteed it within 5 minutes we're proved wrong. So now you're victim to that curse as well, saying old reliable, and sure enough.
So does that mean I'm now getting qualified as a commentator in training?
A commentator in training, yeah. Start making some t-shirts. Erica's sending me a few messages here on Facebook, Daryl's wife, laughing that we're calling it a bunny hug, saying she's excited to check out the new merch. She's probably our biggest supporter. Every time we get something new in, she's one of the first ones to buy it, whether it's a sweater or a jacket or what have you. She's quick to get her hands on it, which is great stuff. When we were at the juniors in Nova Scotia, Erica and Daryl picked me up from the airport, and Erica had a nice little sign made for me saying Jake Shuknik, and drew a smiley face with a beard, but I came clean shaven, so she was a little disappointed the picture was wrong.
So the umpires have strung the replacement line across, and
I think it's in play.
George Cubis, I believe it is, has indicated that the ball is in.
That's a very fine fishing line wire there.
My apologies to George. Handsome man, but it's not George.
Well, George was back behind the ditch there helping Helen, so
he was directing. Here comes Alex after the break, just rolling
coming up a little bit short
carefully
there.
into possibly trying to close that port a little further.
So as I was talking about Erica and Daryl picking me up from the airport, Erica is actually watching the stream here, so hi Erica. Nice to have you with us. Back home in Ontario. And for anybody else watching, feel free to send us a message on Facebook or Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. I'll give you a shout out. I guess they were looking for a little bit of position there.
Alex just delivered a draw right.
Yeah, that's a beautiful shot there from Alex.
Got
a toucher. Robbie's asking Bob to switch hands here. Any jack movements going all the way back to Manitoba?
Putting a little pace.
Looking to make contact with jack or bull, but that looks inside to me.
It has
Taken off on him.
come on the inside line and it's just dived away. And it's out.
Grant's using his fingers to try to assess the count.
It looked like, I think I saw 3, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he held up a handful of fingers there. I don't know how many that was. 2, 3, 4? Not sure, but John's also using his fingers, and
He snuck in there. He must have. Alex still has a ball in hand to play, and not the end of the.
not the end of the end yet.
No.
Grant's using his fingers again. You know, last year I don't think we sold more than 1 shot spotter at this event, so I only packed 8, and we sold all of them already.
In the first 2 hours.
Yeah, shot spotters are a hot commodity, and if you don't know what a shot spotter is, it's a little piece of, I don't know, plastic or plexiglass or something like that with some rings on it. So when you pull it out of your pocket, hold it about waist high, and position it over the jack, then with all the lines and rings on it, it helps you determine who's shot. It kind of almost looks like curling rings, in a sense. It's oh. Not sure if somebody moved or a little bit of wind.
Alex just takes it back. Here it goes.
Just looking to draw in another one here, and I think he's outside.
I think he took that, that
Outside track.
outside track and just beautifully weighted. And,
So we're checking out 1, 2,
took that.
2, and Robbie's going to measure from there. Couple of locals behind us on the fence are going to be in the picture for the newspaper tomorrow, and they're saying, "Oh no, pick somebody else. You're from this club. Get a couple of outsiders." We've got a photographer here from one of the newspapers. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, I think it's the local paper. I think it's the Chronicle Herald. I think Victoria newspaper already gave the event some very nice coverage earlier in the week, and I think they're back.
And I think we're calling for an umpire measure here, if I'm not mistaken, as Robbie tried, and now they're kicking stuff around, but they didn't shout for one until now, so they're a little delayed on that.
I think they have 2 pulled out, and
2 pulled out and a measure for the others.
looking for just 1, I think.
Yeah, it looks like it's just a measure between 2 bulls there. So it would make it 12-6 at least, maybe even 12-7.
Just to follow up on Jake's comment and the reporters and the media coverage, I forgot the gentleman's second name, but his first name is John. He's handling advertising and media for the Wantafuka Club, for the host club, and John has certainly attracted quite a bit of media attention. There's been CTV News down here, one of the talk radio stations, Times Chronicle, and that's important for the event, and it's also very important for bowls to get good coverage, show that this is a challenging and exciting and participation sport that bring it forward to attention of people. It's not to try and dispel some of the public image of lawn bowling. That, yeah, shout out to John for his efforts on that. He's certainly working.
Yeah, it's one thing that we'd love to work with you on more, especially if you're hosting a national championship. When our championships are at clubs throughout the country, we have a media kit ready that you can use and send to your local media stations, but The real challenge here is we don't have all of the media contacts that you might have at your local level. So whether you're in Victoria or somewhere in Quebec, New Brunswick, Ontario, what have you, we're assuming that you probably might be able to make that connection with your local media reporter, news outlet, easier and faster than we can. You might already have that connection in place. So we would love to help you, whether you write a press release or just get in touch with them to let them know what's going on. So we can help you write that content, but in terms of actually making that connection, we can certainly try, but we're hoping that you already have that connection in place and that you can work on getting your local news station out here, whether it's CTV, CBC, the Chronicle, the Times, whatever. And if you do need help writing any sort of a press release or sending information to your local news outlet, let us know. We'd love to help you and work with you on that. So that was 3 for Saskatchewan there. Question here from Roger Smith, that if umpires are slow, should players be penalized for delay? Because there is only a 3.5 hour time limit, so if umpires take up, 20 minutes of that, cutting time out of the game. This is just going to be my personal opinion on the matter, so this is by no means an official stance at all. Murray just chipped the jack there on his way through to the ditch. I would say that 3.5 hours is more than enough time to finish a game, and that I think that's actually already being far too generous. I think 3 hours is a more appropriate timeline for every discipline here, so that's 30 minutes of extra time that, in my opinion, could be used by umpires, can be used by taking a little team powwow or whatever. So I don't think that it's really penalizing the players if the umpires are taking their time. I think the players are penalizing themselves by just playing way too slow. But that's just my personal opinion. That's by no means an official response or opinion to that question. It's also not very often in a game where you're calling an umpire multiple times to make measures. Happens maybe 2-3 times a game, I suppose, and that could take up a decent amount of time, but it's not usually not every single end that you're calling an umpire over to measure. With the jack closer to the ditch here, John's coming up well short, and Murray threw his first one as a touch in the ditch, and second one there he's locked in. Bob's saying might be 3 down there, so that could be 3 for Saskatchewan, potentially. As you can see, that touches in the ditch.
Yeah. It's always hard to judge a ditch ball as opposed to a... well, it's definitely not 3 down now.
Yeah, 1 Manitoba at the moment.
Manitoba.
I wouldn't be surprised if... Okay, alright, prove me wrong. I was going to say I wouldn't be surprised if Al calls for Grant to try to bury it before Manitoba can.
If you take either jack or ball to the ditch here, that would be a great result for Saskatchewan. And he just
inside.
Stays on.
Nope, not quite.
There's quite a fall off just there. And in fact, Murray's first ball, Saskatchewan's first ball, did in fact fall to the ditch. So joined by one of Grant's.
Robbie Laws coming on down.
It's a little faster, I think.
Yeah, that looks
Might,
pretty spicy and wide,
might
I
hit,
think.
But I think he
Found a friend, but still not enough to slow it down.
And he's
Got a comment on Facebook here from Malcolm White from Ontario saying, "Let's go Saskatchewan." Sitting here cheering the boys on with Lily. I believe that is his newborn child.
little one.
Oh,
There's,
there's a great shot there from Grant.
And it's probably a measure. Bob's having a good look. Robbie coming in.
He's very close.
He is
Very close.
That's a very, very good shot.
That's a great shot.
But it's not a toucher, so Alex has a number of options here.
Yeah, there are a lot of options here. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays a little bit of weight to maybe push that jack into the ditch to try to get it close to Murray's toucher.
A little forceful would be.
He could actually probably afford to be a little aggressive into that, because if he connects onto Grant's, that might crash onto the Manitoba Bull there on the side.
Put that one away, and that probably would fall outside of the shot in the ditch. So I don't think he'll be light. What do you think, Jake?
I wouldn't think so, but I mean,
This is a nicely paced ball.
could be wrong. Grant was saying hold a bit so he could get a kiss, and then he said, "Alright, well then turn," or something, but just sailing on through. Interesting question there. Roger Smith saying, okay, let's say that that string measure that they just used to determine if that ball was in or out, let's say that's the second last end and time is ticking. Yeah, I can kind of see your point. That is kind of penalizing the players a little bit, in the sense that time is ticking and the umpires are... It takes a while to measure if the bowler jack is inbounds or out of bounds or not, so... Yeah, I guess I can kind of get your point there. It might seem like you're penalizing the players, as it just takes time for umpires to do that, but... Could almost say it's your call for calling the umpires over to measure in the first place, or the fact that you got to the point where time is ticking with 2 ends left. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say to that.
So it's more of a defensive shot from.
Yeah, I think he's looking to throw a guard in, and that's not a bad spot to be.
No, he's placed it pretty well, I think.
Grant's lining things up here. And I think, yeah, Al's playing a little bit of weight.
A little bit more forceful, but not too. Very close. Yes.
And that is right next to Murray's bull in the ditch there, so that could be one for Saskatchewan at the moment. I don't know if there's any touchers for Manitoba to work with.
I think Manitoba's second shot is a toucher, I believe.
If that is a toucher, then that's definitely an option to try to push it into the ditch, but there's so much clutter up front, I'm not sure if you can find a line to get to it, is the only issue.
Yeah, that's about the only hope is, I think, to bang it in the ditch and hope that it somehow detaches the jack, which right now is, I think, touching the Saskatchewan ball. Grant's in there to quickly mark the positions in case they get displaced by a non-toucher.
Yeah, he's just throwing a finger in the sand.
Ball is a non-toucher.
Yeah. Just drawing fingers in the sand there to outline where the bull and jack are.
Yeah. Umpire in close attendance just to make sure all is happening as we'd want it to, in accordance with the laws of the game.
So they're marking on
as Jake said, it's a big ask for Bob to be able to move something, because there appears to be quite a number of balls that might be in a path of a runner.
That's going to be tough to do.
Yeah.
Now, question here, I don't know if this is even possible, what happens if they do connect on that Manitoba Bowl and it lands on top of the jack, and for whatever reason it's pinched and it can't actually fall down, so it's actually laying on top of the jack?
If it is indeed a toucher,
if it is indeed a toucher,
still alive.
Because I don't know how you could ever measure that if there's a bowl on top of the jack.
It would be
That would be very difficult to measure. I don't know if the feeler gauges you wouldn't be able to fit a feeler gauge between there, because
well, I think you would know for a fact that the one that's laying on the jack was touching the jack.
Yeah,
but then
yeah.
it would be a matter of seeing whether you could see any daylight or feel any daylight
between the other two.
The ball to the side.
Yeah.
These are the questions that get discussed in the clubhouse over a beer or a coffee after the game.
Yeah, that's right.
Bob just touches off a front ball and runs wide.
Now that Manitoba Bowl, if it's not a toucher, that's worth 3 more Saskatchewan shots. But
he'd have to drive, and I think Alex is talking about that.
Yeah, he's going to wind up and see if he can push Grant onto that red bowl and whip it out to the side. So if you can push it far enough to the side, you can kill it at the side, or it might just be far enough away that you could bring in a couple more shots.
The challenge would be that to get that kind of action, Alex has got to hit a little bit to the right side of Grant's ball, and Grant's ball is probably not going to stay on the green. It's not a toucher, and the ball, here it comes. Let's see what happens. Almost.
Not quite.
It was
not quite.
Very close.
And Bob's just whipping his ball down, saying, I can't draw it, so there's no point in me throwing it. So that's 1 Saskatchewan. So that makes it 12-8. A little bit of a momentum change here in the wind. As that was end number 11. 12-8. John Tuffer on Twitter, building on Roger's question, should markers in a singles game be aware how slow placing of jack change the player's rhythm of play? Well, they are volunteers, so sort of got to take what they give you. Unless you want to chase the jack down and place it yourself. Got to use the card you dealt. Roger Smith is just sort of clarifying. He's been an umpire for 12 years at provincials, nationals, NACs, so he's in no way bad-mouthing fellow redshirts, just a question is all. So I didn't know that you were an umpire, Roger. That's news to me. So John is replacing the mat here. Oh, we have another watcher tuning in here, Linda Gallacher. I apologize if I'm butchering that last name, but enjoying the streaming and wishing there was more. Well, Linda, we're going to be here all week. There will be more. We still got tomorrow and the next day and the next day, so there's still plenty of action left to come. And if you want to know what we'll be streaming, just look for what's on rink A7 in the morning and A1 in the afternoon. That'll tell you where we're going to be setting up shop.
I think there's a post now on the website, or I saw Sarah Moss, our communications.
That's right. I believe Sarah sent out a blurb, whether it's through email or
them up, so
social media.
Somewhere you'll find a schedule for who is on, which it'll always be at the same times. 9 o'clock start in the mornings, and it's 1:30, right? Yeah, 1:30.
Yeah, about 1:30 in the afternoon, I believe, is when we start. Yeah.
And it's whoever's on A1.
For the afternoon games, yeah.
Yeah, A7.
Might be, interesting what we're going to do for the finals, as I might try to get into more of a middler rink if we can.
Yes, because I think certainly the choice of rinks is to some extent determined by making sure there's the least interference for spectators, least interference for players. But as we get to the finals and there'll be less rinks in use,
That's right.
certainly not wishing to criticise the Wanafuka club, but some of the end rinks are a little challenging. Whereas I'm sure that the gold medal games, which are almost certainly to be the ones
that will be streamed.
streamed.
Yep.
I'm not sure which one it'll be, but they will almost certainly be on the centre or middle rinks. So yes, we'll be having different camera positions. And,
We'll play around with that a little bit. Now the men's medal matches will be starting at 9 a.m. on Saturday, and the women at 10. And so because of that, we're likely going to try to pick a faster game to stream the gold medal match. It'll probably either be men's pairs or men's triples, depending on what we can make work, what rinks are going to be used. And then as soon as the men's match is over, we'll head on down to the other deck to stream the women's medal match and pick up wherever they are in that game.
And by the same logic, do you think, Jake, that might be in fact a slower, longer game, maybe a ladies' fours?
Yeah, that might be the case. I wouldn't be surprised if we go with either women's triples or women's fours. I'm hesitant to pick a fours game just because there's so many people standing in the head that it doesn't make for great TV. You can't really see what's going on when there's 7 people between the camera and the head. So I wouldn't be surprised if we went with a women's triples game, but we'll see what we can make work. We are limited by what we can do with the equipment here. And have a little bit of a shout out here on Twitter from the Coburg Lawn Bowling Club. Great to see Ontario A doing so well in the fours. Local interest from Coburg with Martin Foxhall on the team. I had no idea Martin was from Coburg. That's news to me. I've known Martin for many years. He's a stand-up gentleman. Playing a much shorter length here. Grant's trying to master that ditch hand side. He's just coming up inside and short. David Calum got summoned away, so I'm joined now by Daryl Fitzgerald. How are you doing, Daryl?
I'm not bad.
Welcome back.
How are you doing, Jake?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Got a banger of a match going on in front of us here. It was looking all Manitoba for a little while, but Saskatchewan's slowly been trying to claw their way back into this, and it's now 12-8.
This has definitely been a tricky rink for every team that's played it. But the nice thing to see is that these heads have been getting closer and closer every end. So. Even in this wind.
Well, I'm just glad it's not nearly as bad as it was in Nova Scotia. Our intents just about blew away several times in Nova Scotia with all the gusts they had there, but here it's a little nicer.
Yeah. So I've been watching this game from the sidelines and seeing some of it play, as well as many other games as I've toured around. Some really fantastic bowls being played around here. So yeah, David got called away to do a nice interview.
Ooh.
He's an important man, so you got a less important person here doing commentary for you. Bring in the reliever.
Coburg Lawn Bowling Club is again on Twitter, saying also have local interest in the men's pairs with Ontario's District 14 Oshawa team of Rob and Dave Steffen. They're currently in first place in their pool with 4 wins and a tie.
Unfortunately, they're on B deck.
Yeah, so can't really give you much of an update there.
Yeah.
But if the men's fours and men's pairs are any indication, Ontario A is in first for both of those at the moment. So that could be a potential foreshadowing if he's going to get the Cy English. Now here's a little... I don't really know what word I'm looking for here, but I guess the Psy English isn't really well known, and there's not much documentation on it either. But at the majors each year, the team that does the best in men's and women's gets a trophy. So for the men's, it's the Psy English. For the women, it's the Lady Alexander. And that is based on your provincial team or side in all disciplines. So if we're looking at Saskatchewan, it would be how did Saskatchewan do in men's fours, men's triples, men's pairs. And for teams that do send B teams, each B team is its own team. So in Ontario's example, Ontario A is its own entity, and Ontario B is its own entity. So it's not 6 teams for Ontario, it's really just 3 and 3, the same as anybody else. That can be a little complicated to figure out final rankings and standings because you have to tally up for every province, for every discipline. But it's a coveted trophy.
And it's a good one to bring the teams together. I know many of the players will look at the standings and want to know who's close, who do they have to beat, what has to happen. So it keeps even teams that are kind of out of their discipline fighting for those points to see if they can actually bring their team up to win that award.
That's right. That's right. It's great to see that provincial camaraderie as they cheer each other on, try to do well as a team in all disciplines.
That's right.
Very little documentation on that, though, when I was back in the office looking through the mounds of data that we have back there, and very little is said of it. I know that the Lady Alexander was donated back in, I think, 1983 or something like that by someone from Ontario, but can't find much more than that, though. I'm not sure how or why it originated. I know Anna did some digging a while back and she found some stuff that I could not. Definitely don't know much off the top of my head, though.
I'm sure there's plenty of trophies all around Canada that have a rich history, but some people just might not know it. Some documentation gets lost over the years, and with switching of people in the office or people at the club, you just never know. Some people keep it all in their head.
Some people have tremendous memories for that. Fair enough. Rogers clarifying here, was is past tense, so he was an umpire, not anymore. Regardless, still had no idea that you used to be an official. The more you know.
Got a long discussion here. Saskatchewan looking on, wondering what they're going to do, and we'll see what they have.
If you don't have Daryl and I on Facebook, I would strongly recommend adding us. Daryl's been quite active on social media, loving the stuff that he's digging up, sharing memories from the past.
Yeah, right now there's a wonderful picture of both Jake and I clean shaven, throwing bowls up in the air.
Yeah. Not very often will you see that, side by side.
That's right.
So that was, in fact, one more for Saskatchewan to make it 12-9. This is getting closer and closer.
It is.
Question for you then, how do you stop the momentum if you're Manitoba?
I think it's the same thing as if you're struggling in a game, or if you're behind, or if someone's starting to catch up. You really have to take your focus away from making the perfect shot and more making effective shots. So you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be hitting everything out there, but you want to be close. You want to give yourself opportunities. You want to get more in the head than the other team, so at least you have a chance to swing that if you do make a shot, or give them trouble that if they make a mistake, you're all over it. So you got to stop focusing on oh man, I'm 2 feet through or 3 feet through, whatever. It's getting close and giving your team the opportunity to actually make the shots. So I would say that Murray's kind of flown by on this head. It looks like the speed is giving them a little trouble.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's different one way over another based on where the brown patches are and where the Matt and Jack placement is. I got a question here from Roger Smith that I have no idea the answer to. In which year did Quebec win the Cy English the first and only time? I have no idea. I would have to go back and look through the records to try to find out when Quebec won the most disciplines and see if I could sort stuff out, and that would take a very long time. So if you have any guesses, send us a message on Facebook or Twitter. When was the first and only time Quebec won the Cy English?
It's an excellent adjustment from Murray there.
The reason I brought up the Cy English and Lady Alexander is just because a lot of players, the first time at the majors, they have no idea what it is. They've never heard of it, and it's not exactly widely advertised or well known. I'm not really sure how we can change that. I suppose we could post about it on Facebook, saying that the coveted Cy English and Lady Alexander trophies are up for grabs this week. Might need to make up a little bit of a write-up, I guess, next time I'm back in the office to try to accompany that and educate people about what it is and how it's been going on for years. But yeah, I know for a fact there are a lot of new players who, the first time at the majors, they've never heard of it. It's something I'd like to change.
Yeah, it's good to know, because it's another fun thing to try to win as a team.
Mm-hmm.
You can cheer on, all the people that have come with you to play on the same team, and really, really good for bonding and provincial pride.
Mm-hmm. I've had a couple comments from people saying that for next year the singles are going to be after the majors, and how is that going to impact the Cy English and Lady Alexander trophies? I wouldn't be surprised if in future years we end up flip-flopping that and putting the singles first and then including that, because I don't think it will be included next year. The Cy English and Lady Alexander will just be based off the fours and pairs standings and results, would be my guess.
Just got the word today that Fairmont's being closed the end of this season. Because the government, Caswell sent me a text, he must have read it. I guess the Ontario government wanted the land, finally. They've only been going on a 1-year lease at the time. It all belongs to the psych hospital behind there.
Well, that's some really disappointing news I just heard over my shoulder from Wayne Wright, saying at the end of this year the Fairmont Lawn Bowling Club in Ontario is being shut down as the government of Ontario wants the land. So that's really disappointing. Fairmont used to be home to WOBA for many, many years. WOBA is an incredibly long tournament that's been hosted in Western Ontario for quite some time. But Fairmont used to be a great stomping ground. I used to love going there to play, so that's really disappointing if that is in fact the case. Seems to be a battle for a lot of lawn bowling clubs here this year, as a lot of clubs are on the verge of being shut down. I know Regina was one of those that had to put up a good fight earlier this year.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, David's back here now. Yeah,
I'm back. Yes, it was threatened by tightening budgets and reduced grants from the province. And, certainly the battle isn't over, but we won the key first round, which was to get time to work out a deal, or a new deal with the city. And they're very positive, I think, that we could find a solution.
Mm-hmm. While you've been gone, Saskatchewan's still trucking along here, trying to claw back in. It's now 12-9. Robbie's asking it to hold, looking for the jack. Got it clean. Chipped it just back far enough to be worth at least one for Manitoba there, I would think. Maybe not. Also got a question from Roger Smith while you were gone. In which year did Quebec win the Cy English the first and only time? I definitely have no idea when Quebec won the Cy English, do you?
Probably when Roger was a young lad, some time ago. No, I don't know.
I have no idea. If anybody out there is listening and wants to take a stab in the dark, send us a message on Facebook or Twitter, and we'll tell the world you're guessing how wrong you are. Although I actually have no idea, so I'll rely on Roger to tell us at some point. Alex is looking to draw just inside or outside of Grant's there, I would think. And he is just
like a good ball
just inside
of the Manitoba
Rob's
ball.
bowl.
Looks like it's.
So I believe that's one for Alex right now.
Rob's taking
Saskatchewan.
a real good look. I think he's fearing it might be two.
It could be. It could
That's
be.
his,
That's difficult to tell from this angle.
Giving it a good look with the fingers, and he's going back, so it must be close.
I would love to invest in a drone and then fly that around and just hover right over and get right in there and be able to take a look at a different angle.
That would be the thing.
The only issue is
The noise.
battery length.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect a drone's going to be able to last for 3.5 hours without being charged up.
Have to have a fleet of drones.
A fleet of drones, yes.
Oh, I think Bob's just come up a little short there.
That's going to be possibly in Alex's eye now, though. That might be tricky to get at.
Although I think there is a possibility for Alex on the backhand.
Yeah, he could definitely work on Murray, slip inside. And I think that's what Alex likes here. He likes to play that other hand and work on Murray, or slip inside if he can. Grant, I think, was calling him on the other hand, but Alex has now switched to his backhand to squeak just inside Murray's. And that looks spicy.
He's coming down with a little pace here, but he's actually has
Yeah,
done exactly
worked
that.
on
He's
Murray.
brought Murray's in.
Yeah. Definitely not the most conventional way to do it, but whatever works. I'm sure Bob would be looking to add quite a bit of weight onto his last one, but will he come back in time? That's hanging out. It's a pretty good weight, just didn't want to come back. I think Alex could still just play that hand and just take off a fair bit of weight and just let it coast in.
Yeah.
Murray's finally stepping up here and making a call. He's calling Alex down to take a look, and that's a smart idea.
Yeah.
Looked like there might have been a little bit of I wouldn't say a disagreement, but Murray saw one thing and Grant saw another thing, so when you're unsure about which shot to play and what makes the most sense, then if you can, it might be a good idea to call your skip down and let him or her take a
It does
look.
look to me as if there's actually two pretty reasonably good options here, and it probably is much thinking of which one is most likely to cause distress to Bob, and I think that's what Murray's thinking, that if he can bring it in.
So they're looking on displacing that one Manitoba Bull here on the left. I think that's Rob's. If they can push that out a little bit, then I think Al said they would be sitting 5 if he can get it out.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a huge opportunity
Yeah.
if he can make it. The downside is, though, if you don't, that is a red Manitoba Bull up front. If you crash on Grant, if you bring that in, yep. That's exactly what Grant's worried about if you do hit this. You don't want to bring in a red bull and cut us down. And Grant's referencing a few ends ago, Alex played 2 drives on his forehand that were close. He didn't connect, but he was close. So it's asking him to maybe do that same thing.
I think it's just there's so many choices here. It's very important that when Alex is walking back to the mat, that as he now he's at the mat, he must have one shot to clear in mind, and it looks like it's backhand
Just
draw.
controlled weight there, I think.
It is controlled weight, and it's coming right in.
Just outside, yeah.
Took one away, but it was not really a factor.
No.
But now Bob has a couple of options. I think they involve
Yeah, I think they're going to have play the non-ditch side and just let it coast in if you can draw in to cut them down. Don't need to worry about Murray's bowl there because it's already shot anyway. Just see if you can get second shot or shot itself. And that is switching hands though. Bob's first two bowls were on his forehand and he's now playing his backhand, so we'll see if that plays a factor. Rob's telling it to run around, but that looks pretty quick. Need to find a friend.
Might be on the back, but no, he's
Just sailed through. So I believe that's going to be at least 2 for Saskatchewan.
I think now I have a measure for the third.
So I don't know if that was 2 or 3. I think it was just 2, but I'm not sure. Yeah, just 2. So that makes it 12-11.
So now that's yeah, it's Saskatchewan creeping slowly back up to 13 ends played.
3 ends to go here, as it's only 16 ends in triples, and it's 12-11 right now. So this is anybody's match here.
And
Looking on deck D, rink 1, Manitoba A is up 13-8 over Saskatchewan A in women's triples. Can't see a whole lot of any of the scoreboards. There's people standing in front of everything, except for rink 3, it's 27-12, and that's a Nova Scotia versus Nova Scotia affair, so I have no idea which Nova Scotian team is beating the other.
the way the sun's shining, it's not easy to see.
It is not easy to see those signs at all.
See the A's or B's. You just say it's Nova Scotia.
BC B men's 4 is up 17-12 over Ontario B, which is actually Davey Matthews' team. I'd be happy to see him get a win in the books. I know that William Whitelaw and his team, it's his first time at the majors, so I'm sure he's eager to get that first win under his belt. Murray's just coasting through there. He's lying 2, both past the jack. Let's see if John can make a correction on his first. Looks like he did. A little bit.
Yes.
Just found a friend there to lie for 1. I was watching how Murray holds the bowl there. His thumb is right along those grooves, the grips. Do you place your thumb on the grips or a little more down lower off to the side?
When I used to roll a grip ball, and I always went to the grips, but since I've gone to a smooth ball, just wanders a little bit. It's a little bit higher, actually, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Just-
interesting.
but then my hands are very large.
What size bowl do you play with?
I went down to a 4, so I play a 4, which started with a 6, so step by step.
By step getting down. And Grant is very spicy on that.
That's,
It's into the ditch. See if Rob can add to John's shot there. Looks like he's in the ballpark. It could be 3 for Manitoba right now. Grant's going to walk down after this bowl. Took a lot of weight off. Too much. I think he's struggling with his length here. I think Rob thinks he's close on this. He's creeping up a little bit after it.
taps it over.
Pinched
but,
the jack over to the side. That didn't help their cause at all.
No, but, I think Murray had a ball over in there, and I think it might be a little distant from the jack, but it's. I think it's.
Manitoba was lying 3 before that, I think, but now they're definitely not. Might be a measure of a shot. They might still have won, but
Grant comes in, but he's through a little bit.
he's through the head. That gives them some position. He's back covering the tee just about. Rob's gonna go down and take a look. Yeah, John said, here, let's go for a walk. Get your bearings with you. Although, Rob doesn't need to change a whole lot. He could throw almost the same bowl and he'd end up in the same area.
Just while we're watching this, Jake, does Roger filled us in on who was the
What year was the Cy English won by Quebec? No, I'm still waiting for an answer there, so he might be waiting for the end of the game, maybe.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what it would be. Because there have been great players come out of Quebec, and Cy English, for those who are listening, is a team cup or challenge based on the total numbers of points scored by all teams in all events. And Cy English is the men's, right?
Yep, that's right. Cy English is the men's, and
the women have
Lady Alexander for the women.
So it's a measure of team strength right across all disciplines. So in order to do that, you've got to have come out pretty high in the at least 2, and your third event you've got to be at least in the middle to do that. So I'm trying to think back to some great Quebec players who might have been in the same combination. But anyway, we're back to play now.
Yeah, we're back to play now. Yeah.
Alex is on the map.
I think I'll wait till the 15th then to reveal the answer, as I do have that now. Thank you, Roger, for sending me that. I'll reveal the answer in a couple ends. To when Quebec won their first and only Cy English. I'll say it's not as long ago as you might think. Well, I definitely don't remember that, as last year was the first majors I've ever really attended. I've been to the finals a few times at Willowdale just to spectate, but I've never actually played in the event yet. One of these days. Bob is looking a little high. I'm not sure if that's going to come back in time. Really doesn't want to finish on that hand once you get out there. Grant was eating something there when Alex asked what's my weight like, and so he's just chewing and nodding, saying, yeah, pretty good. That may not be the result that Al was looking for. As expected, this game is going to be right down to the wire, and that would have been my expectation before this game started. So these are two very good teams.
The Bob comes up a little short. I don't think that's quite where he'd want that either. So.
Hey, we finally have someone guessing. Malcolm White's guessing 1997 for Quebec, getting the Cy English. Finally have a guess. For anybody else out there who's listening, take a guess. Guess a year for what year Quebec won the Cy English. See if Alex is inside of or outside of Bob's bowl. Just outside and inside his own, and what a draw.
And that's a great draw.
What a draw by Scotty. Now that puts a little bit of pressure here on Bob. I think he's going to have to come down and either draw inside of Alex's or push it out. Rob squatting, finds a friend and flops over. Not quite.
One.
Oh, one for sure, two for sure. This has given Saskatchewan the lead for the first time in a very long time.
Yeah, Robbie signals it 2 down.
2 down, so that makes it
2 up for Saskatchewan.
13-12 here now for Saskatchewan with 2 to go. And Murray is just past where Alex was standing to place the jack, so I think we're going to be back just about at the tee. Just a couple inches shy. So they're stretching it out here, playing tee to tee. Murray is coming on down here. That looks like that could be pretty good weight. Pretty good bowl there.
Pretty effective start. It's probably the jack high and right in the right place. I think we've seen a slight shift in the momentum from when Saskatchewan started to get some control of the mat and they started playing into this area at the tee.
Well,
they seem to have had more success in the last couple of ends.
For quite the string of ends at the start, John Bjornsson was just all over the jack and was just really setting up the ends well, but he's cooled off a little bit, and that might be because Saskatchewan's got control of the length of Jack, but it really just shows how much of a difference your lead can make if you can be all over it, or if you're, you know, leaving some room for error. Speaking of Elite's first bowl, when I was talking to Pat Bird last night, he said he brought in a ringer from Australia on his force team, but his nickname was RT. And I asked him, well, what's that stand for? And he said resting toucher. And I guess all of their provincial games, I think they played 4 or 5, and that's a great shot there from John, were down to the wire. They're only won by 1 or 2, but he gave him the nickname RT because in every game they've played, when it's been down to the wire, in the 18th end, his first bowl was a resting toucher. And that's definitely what you want from your lead to start the final end, to get a resting toucher. Murray's pretty consistent there with those 2 short bowls. And that's going to be difficult now. That's plugging things up. I think Bob's calling John on his forehand now. Pretty good weight, but the lines out there are quite tricky. Just a draw is what Alex is calling for. He said he's got the wind with him.
It is a little pacey.
Mm-hmm. Grant is in the ditch. And that looks pretty pacey to me too. Not sure.
Just wreck them, no.
No, just outside and in the ditch. Similar weight, just tighten the line is what Alex is calling for.
He's onto it. Well, that was one way of doing it.
That is a very fortuitous result.
It's funny because I think in the discussion Grant was suggesting that might be an option, and it's funny how even though he was definitely playing Alex's call, if your mind has already told you there's another option, sometimes it happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Rob is inside and in the ditch again. So now switching hands here. That looks like much better weight. Just needed to get by Murray's there.
Yes, it had pretty well perfect weight to the jack.
Rob's asking what do you like about some weight through, and Bob said, yeah. I don't know if I've ever really seen Robbie throw a drive. This is going to be new for me.
More of just, that's easy. And he's got it.
He got it. Square.
Perfect.
What a beautiful shot. Deadly. It's now 1 for Manitoba right now. Alex is asking if they have third shot with the front one as well as second shot. I'm not sure what the answer was. you think Alex is going to drive at that? Nope. Just a draw.
Looks pretty yes.
Controlled weight, I suppose.
Yeah.
Definitely not a full-out drive. Might be working on Murray.
It's gone through his... Oh,
Chipped in.
tripped, but it's gone out the back. Not to the ditch.
Still sticking around. So that gave Manitoba another position bowl.
Yeah.
You think nerves are coming into effect here, as they both are aware that this is, a very crucial end?
This is a very crucial end. And, had an interesting conversation earlier today with the player who was explaining that the results till now had been a bit mixed because they found themselves trying not to lose rather than playing to win.
Mm-hmm.
And, you've team becomes somewhat fragile if make your objective to try and make sure you don't lose once you've got a small lead. And, it's a very insightful conversation. Here comes another good ball from Robbie.
Ooh.
Oh, I thought he had the jack to the ditch.
Bob just missed.
Was it Bob?
Yeah,
Bob. I
yeah.
thought he had the jack to the ditch.
I thought he did too. That would have
been a
crucial.
real clincher.
If he would have got it, that would have had Manitoba lying 4.
Well, yeah.
Just asking for a swinger again here. Brought in Murray's that's a definite second there. Rob's telling Bob, same idea.
Somewhat risky move because if it doesn't work quite right, it looks to me like there's definitely 2 and 3 belong to Saskatchewan. There's a brief pause in the proceedings here where a kind lady from the host committee brings us some sandwiches, so thank you very much. That's very nice.
Yeah, they have been taking real good care of us here. So Bob came up a little bit short on that last bowl. The one before that went in the ditch, so he was probably conscious about his weight. This is Alex's last bowl here, so that's a big discussion. If nothing changes, Manitoba's lying 1 and they'd be tied up going home. But Bob still has another bowl to come left as well. Now that is quite the redirection and fortuitous result. Unfortunately, the camera didn't quite... can't quite see what's in the ditch there, but... Alex's bowl is a toucher in the ditch. That is just a foot or so to the side.
I think it's quite a close measure, actually. I favour Alex's, but from our angle here, maybe it looks. Maybe you can see it on the TV. Oh, Jake's taking a quick field trip. Jake's just moved away to make a small adjustment to the... Oh, there we go. We can now see the ditch. And now see see the problem that Bob is going to do his best to solve. That's good, Jake. You got a better angle on that camera.
Yeah, just topped off real quick because that's pretty crucial to be able to see that.
Still not certain who's
Who's who?
oh, look at this. Look at this. Look. No.
Wow.
It's outside of the...
Outside of Alex's, so that's one for Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan. So that is...
14-12 coming home.
I would say a little fortunate, but...
yeah, I would agree with you on that. A little
these things
fortunate.
happen. You come into the edge with confidence and the right pace. It wasn't excessively fast. It was a nice, well-paced ball into the head, and probably got a lucky encounter with another ball. But yes, it dragged the jack and followed it into the ditch. So Saskatchewan sitting on 14.
Mm-hmm. Up 2 going home.
2 going home.
So now that we're starting the last end here, I can finally tell you what year Quebec won the Cy English Award. Malcolm White guessed 1997, and sorry, Malcolm, you're wrong. It's more recently than that. The correct answer is actually 2010 in Edmonton. There was Michel Leroux with Russell McCartan, Wayne Hossack, Mike Doskus, Roger Smith, John Devlin, Stephen Sliman. Sliman, sorry. Apologies if I butchered any names there, unintentional. Aside from Roger and Michelle and Wayne, I don't know if I've met any of the others. And I guess back in 2010, that was actually when it was fours, pairs, and singles. So I think Michelle played singles, Russell and Wayne played pairs, and Mike, Roger, John, and Stephen played fours.
And I have to admit, I should have known that. I remember playing in singles.
Oh, you're in the singles. Well, admittedly, that was 7 years ago, though, so it's quite some time ago. Calling for a line measure off of this bowl here, I think.
I think there's a little nerves, little adrenaline kicked in on both teams. Head is a little, what you might politely call, spread. This happens. The wind has picked up, it's shifted round a little bit. The green is drier, faster than it was. And, it wasn't easy in the first place.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It might have been a wise move from Rob Law. Rob's the one who called for the line measure on this. Might have been a good idea just to slow things down, collect yourselves, not let the pressure get to you. If that ball is actually dead, then Murray doesn't have a ball on the green. So that might have been a pretty wise decision from Rob to get that checked. Still plenty of time left in this game, though, if need be. It's only been 2 hours and 50 minutes or so, so there's still 40 minutes left for them to finish this last end. So they should have plenty of time. They could even kill it and still be fine, I think. So far, there's just the one umpire here. He's waiting for for the crew to come over with the string that they can take out and measure the boundary line. This is one thing that I'm actually really excited for, the senior triples, and I'm really glad Andy Caldwell suggested it. I shipped to the Peterborough Club the chalk liner before we left here, and he asked me if he wanted them to start marking the boundary lines, because that's what they do in Australia, and it really speeds up time. And I said, yeah, if you don't mind, then please, by all means, go ahead and do that. That would be great. So it is a lot more work for the grounds crew to do that, and I can certainly appreciate that not many people would be willing to do it, but Andy has a real passion for bowls, and he's willing to do it, and we're going to see how the players like it. I can't imagine any player would be opposed to it, as it really does speed up the game. If you have the boundary lines painted on the green, you can tell which bowl is live and dead real quick, and it would save a lot of time from something like this happening.
Yeah, the umpire, the call's made, and yes, it was in fact outside of the rink. Oh, now a conflicting signal. Now it's in.
It's in, but he pointed out of bounds when he said it's in. So it's in play, but he just pointed the wrong way.
Yeah.
I have my doubts that that ball will actually come into play at all throughout the rest of the end, but we'll see what happens. It is slightly behind the jack, so if the jack were to square it, it could come that way, I suppose. This is a very loose head so far. John's crashing on his, bringing it up. That is probably shot. Grant is taking his time here. He's delivered his bowl, and I think he's inside a fair bit. Yeah, inside and short. It's a big opportunity here for whoever can be the first one on the jack. This ditch hand is tricky though. It is getting downright gusty here. Oh, just squeaked.
Just got a bit of a kiss, but that is shot ball. So a few feet from the jack, but it's shot ball.
This is a pretty intense finish to the game here.
Robbie gets another
oh, beautiful ball from Rob there.
It's a little deflection. And
little inside rub.
Nice weight, just came inside.
Alex is trying to convince Grant to play this ditch hand side, and Grant's going to come down and
take a look
and have a chat and say, you know, I really don't want to. Yeah, you know, sometimes it is, I wouldn't say easier, but when it's in your mind that you want to play the other hand, even though it's not the percentage shot, confidence can play a big part in it, and I don't think Grant has any confidence in playing this ditch hand side whatsoever. His last bowl took a bit of a funny track, and he was talking to Alex saying, you saw what my last bowl did, and he really doesn't want to play this ditch hand side, but this is when it's really key to have a skip that can talk you into into playing the proper shot. Because a lot of this is confidence.
So I think Alex is equally convinced that he doesn't want the ball coming into the head and pushing Robbie any closer. So he's he's made the call, and Grant's playing the ball that Alex.
And what's interesting there is that
I would say so far so good, and yes, that's just a
the
little
way-
behind, but a great line.
Alex was standing there giving Grant grass, saying, just aim here and let it coast in, and it did come right back. If he would have had a couple feet less, that would have been right on the jack. But
still, last end, 2 up.
Yep.
Great position. And,
Manitoba's looking for 2 to tie, 3 to win. I'm sure all these players here would not be very happy with a tie. I find that to be such a disappointing end to a game, to play all these ends and then finish in a tie, in a stalemate. It's definitely better than a loss, but at the end of the day, I'm eager to determine a winner. I'm not sure if you agree with me on that, but that's just my personal thoughts on it.
well, I think at a critical juncture, one tie is certainly better than a loss. But if you end up in a round robin, and 2 ties adds up to a loss.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a loss and a win. Oh.
I think Alex is just looking to play some coverage bowls here now. Just trying to cover any open gaps, and he crashed on Rob's bowl there. That's definitely not the shot he was looking for. Moments like these where a lot of players preferred not to skip, as there's a fair bit of pressure on Bob and Alex to make the shots here, as it really is almost going to come down to a battle of the skips here at this point. Who can make the shot necessary to secure a victory for your team? People walking behind the head there, and
Probably a little gust of wind too, just to unsettled Alex just for a moment.
Alex is chasing this down here slowly. Don't think he likes it. Side rub. Grant's clapping. John's using his fingers to try to tell who's who.
It's hard to see. I think that.
I think that's Rob's bowl on the jack and Alex's second.
I think Manitoba's still shot, but I think the position of the jack, it's making it harder, I think, for Bob to see a clear path to 2.
If he brings the jack back, they would be sitting 3. Well, 2 and the shooter for 3, depending on how far he goes. He does have 2 bowls left, so he can have a tester and a recovery if need be. He could make this very difficult if he just buries it behind that red one too. And that would be a very difficult shot for Alex to try to get to. He's close.
Very close.
Oh, just through the port.
It went out the back. Yeah.
Very close ball. Well, the Saskatchewan team are going to be humming and hawing about this.
Time for a team meeting, I think.
Do you cover your bases at the back there? Do you try to do it first? Do you draw another in the head? What do you do here? That shot is still there right now for Bob to try to make that trail for the win. And Alex is actually going to go back and talk to Keith, the team manager at the back there. That's a wise move. When in doubt, talk to your manager.
And there's no doubt that Keith Roney has seen many challenging situations. And, there's probably no one better, certainly in Saskatchewan, at weighing options, possibilities, probabilities, and what's most likely to cause challenge for the opposition.
You can see quite the discussion here as Keith is saying one thing, Murray's using his hands a bit, Alex is listening, Grant's out on the green and coming back in there. They're having a real good, healthy debate about this, about what shot to do and what shot to play.
Looks like Alex knows. He's taking another hard look.
Saying, if I can put one right here.
This is the area. This
So
is the threat.
I think he's looking for maybe a guard there to try to make it tougher for Bob to get in, and that's a guard can be sometimes the trickiest bowl to play.
It's a big ask.
It is.
It's,
and that would be a pretty good spot for it, I suppose. He might be making that trail himself.
Oh,
what a ball.
What a tremendous ball. Well, I don't know whether that was the call that he went down with, but he certainly must have been in his mind. It made life very challenging for Bob Wellingham.
Now Bob almost needs to just throw the exact same ball that Alex did with a little bit more weight. If he can chip that ball out or push the jack back a little bit.
Yeah, there's two black balls just waiting.
Now this is a big shot for Bob as he has the last ball of the end, so this is the make or break shot here.
Expect something pretty good from Bob. He's great under pressure. He's like Keith, he's seen a lot, he's seen it all, and he may well make it. And if he does, Alex has the great satisfaction, although it's no comfort, of knowing he did make the perfect shot at the moment.
Be in the neighborhood. Just on the high side.
It's chipped about, no.
So that's at least one for Saskatchewan, and that's the game. The Saskatchewan lads clawed their way back to get a victory over Manitoba. If it was one, then that would make it 15-12. I'm not sure if it was just one or not, but you can check out the Bulls Canada website later on once the scores are inputted to find the final score. Victory goes to Saskatchewan in this game nonetheless.
For a sign, they're not signaling anything. They just know what they know. They know the result. It's a win for Saskatchewan and a tremendous battle.
There's is a tremendous little lad. I guess our cameras won't pick him up. There's a youngster walking down the green beside us that said on the back of his shirt, "Film me, I'm from Nova Scotia," that he taped to the back of his sweater. I wish I could get him on camera. That's unfortunate that I can't do that. Hopefully he's back tomorrow and I'll have him run across the green. Anyways, thanks for commentating with me there, David.
It was great fun. It was a good pleasure. I hope our viewers enjoyed it as much as I did.
We will be back again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. local time. Tune in then to catch some more great action.